Over 113,000 residents left city in 12 months.
我都回流返咗嚟香港。
My time in the UK has been a disaster.
千祈唔好移民，都係香港好。
連英國人都覺得喺英國冇啖好食。
The national food for the UK is actually not British food. It's actually
咁多種口音，佢哋聽得明嗎？
And I'd often find myself having to ask them to repeat themselves.
Hong Kong, US, UK, which one is better? 上年我哋去咗英國，跟住咧就開始見到好多嘅留言問我哋係咪移民啊 ？If I can choose, would I choose the UK? 最後都係香港好啲。If I were still in my 20s, if given an opportunity, I would move to another country in a heartbeat. And I would encourage youngsters to do so too. If you're still single without a family, what do you have to lose really? But now with a family in consideration, I can't just go like that. 今日會同大家一齊比較一下香港、英國、美國嘅生活開支等等，順路訪問一下當地嘅人，睇下佢哋嘅睇法係點。By the way, this video is sponsored by Cambly。唔想以傳統嘅方式學英文，其實都可以透過同人哋傾偈嚟練習講同埋聽英文。Let's chat with Toby, who's from the UK.
a lot of variations, right?
Yeah, I think there is good food in the UK, but it's mainly made by people that have moved from other countries to England or to other places in the UK. So the better food is normally found elsewhere.
Yeah, I've heard that actually the national food for the UK is actually not British food, it's actually Indian food. Is that
Yeah,
true?
it's a British variation of Indian curry that was actually invented in Scotland. The national dish for the UK is called chicken tikka masala. And it's an Indian style curry that I don't think you'd find it in India, but it's very delicious. Like it's like buttery,
Modified.
kind of sweet chicken curry.
When I went to UK last year, like especially in Scotland, I had trouble understanding the people there. Do you have trouble understanding different accents in the UK?
For me, I think because I'm a native English speaker, I can normally kind of muddle my way through understanding, even when people have very strong accents. The thing I will start to struggle with is when they use a lot of like very specific slang to the place where they grew up. So for example, I used to live in a place called Newcastle, where you had what you'd call a Geordie accent. So certain friends of mine that grew up in quite rural areas of Newcastle spoke with so much slang and in such a strong Geordie accent, I would often find myself having to ask them to repeat themselves. Like I'll be able to understand most people from most places, but like there's a couple of exceptions. So like a strong Geordie accent's difficult, like a Glaswegian accent. So people from Glasgow, that's like one of the most difficult Scottish accents. Can be very confusing. And then also sometimes like there's like an area between Liverpool and Wales where you get an accent that's kind of half Scouse.
I said it last time I was on it, he's the best football player in the world.
Which is a Liverpool accent and half Welsh. And that just, I've just no idea what they're saying any of the
Oh,
time.
really? Oh, now I don't feel so bad about myself.
No, you shouldn't. You definitely shouldn't. If you can understand any kind of Scottish accent, you should be proud.
Now let's chat with Bettina from the US.
So lately, like you would hear on the news about how like, I think someone said like some sort of self-serve restaurants or like supermarkets, they were asking people to tip them. And then basically the tipping culture has just gotten so crazy. What do you think of that?
Okay, so for me specifically, and also I know tipping culture is not something that it's really hard. As someone that travels, I still tip people because I think Americans are expected to tip. And like so many people that like if I go out to eat with people from another country, they think it's absurd. But I have worked in restaurants like since I was a teenager. That's been my main job. So I actually do work for tips. But however, I will say tipping culture, I do agree. I think it's gotten out of hand because if you're doing self-serve or like one time I was at the store and I bought a pair of shoes and it's like someone helps me get the right size. Like I don't think I should be tipping for that.
Right.
I'm already paying $100 for shoes. However, I think if you are getting a service that is like a service-based thing, so like a facial, a massage, depending on the massage, because if it's like a medical massage and your insurance covers it, that's one thing. If you're getting a massage that's like for pleasure, then it's more like you would leave a little tip.
Right.
But like in the food industry, oftentimes the people that work there are making minimum wage. So their tips actually sort of make up for like the wages, I guess. And I also feel like when people tip, it's based off service. It doesn't need to, like, if it's like a nice way to say thank you for the service for having a really good breakfast.
Oh, US is so dangerous. Like there's so many guns, people get shot all the time. And then, because I was
personally, I think the cities are dangerous, to be honest. I'm not comfortable in the city. I feel like
downtown.
When I spent time in, even though I was in other countries, like when I spent time in like Georgia and Turkey and now here in Spain, I feel incredibly safe. When in the United States, because honestly, if you've been downtown, there are so many homeless people. And they're just, and the other thing is like it gets blasted on the news constantly.
They only show the negative sides.
But the homeless population is out of control, and also a lot of those people are unpredictable because think about the people that are homeless. They're typically someone that's probably a drug addict, or and I'm speaking generally, so I feel like I'm stereotyping because I'm sure that there's good people that end up homeless, but
I think generally it really depends on where you live. Like when I was in the US, I felt safe. So it depends on which neighborhood, I guess.
Absolutely. Where I was telling you that I lived earlier north of Seattle in a little tiny town, super safe. Like I don't feel like, so it definitely, I would say specifically in the cities and even where you live in the city, like, or where you go in the city. But typically I think it's pretty safe, but yes, it depends on where you're at.
Yeah, as long as you're not like going to like a back alley at night or something on purpose.
Right, and that's the other thing, because when I travel, I'm not doing that either. You know what I mean? So
say if you're sick, how much would it cost for you to go to a general practitioner in the US?
Oh yeah, I guess that's another thing that's really negative, because if you're really sick with like a cough or something like that, or maybe you sprained your ankle, you would go to urgent care. And I would say for the cost to go to the urgent care would probably be at least $100, around $100, but maybe even more than that, depending on where you're at. And if you go to the emergency room is typically even more expensive. But oftentimes, if you have insurance, your insurance will cover the majority of it. And then depending on the insurance, because all insurances are so completely different. So again, this is a hard one because it's so dependent on like your income. But I would say like if you are working like full time, like even at a lower income, because the cost of living is outrageous, you'd still probably be paying like $350 a month for insurance. But I broke my arm and I broke like all 3 bones in my elbow joint, and like my arm works now, as you can see. Yeah. But even if I have like a metal rod in there for a bone. To give you a ballpark, I'm pretty sure it was around $35,000 for 6 days in the hospital and my
$35,000. Wow, that is crazy expensive.
Yeah. And I ended up having to claim bankruptcy because of my accident, because I couldn't pay my medical bill. Yeah, so it was really.
咁冇錯啦，剛才咧就係同 Cambly 老師嘅1對1英文課堂。Cambly 嚟自美國 San Francisco， 擁有超過45,000名英文係母語嘅老師，提供1對1或者團體網上英文課堂，支持網頁同埋手機，可以24小時同真人練習講同埋聽英文。講錯唔緊要 ，If you don't make mistakes, how can you learn？ 根據你嘅程度同埋需求選擇你中意嘅老師，仲可以選擇埋口音添。有好多嘅 topics， 例如 Business English 同埋 English for Travel 等等，仲有好多唔同嘅題目可以俾你參與討論。喺呢度輸入我嘅優惠碼 wowmaggie 可以免費試上15分鐘課堂，買 Cambly 嘅全線產品，仲有年度專享6折嘅優惠，1至30分鐘嘅課堂都唔使1杯嘅咖啡錢。Cambly 隨時隨地學英文。 咁較早前咧就大家都以為我係移民咗去英國啦 ，but we actually went to the UK for 1 month only, and it was just a trip to visit our families before I was due. 所以其實我哋係冇移民過，我哋係去探親啫。當然我知道呢個行為好詭異，甚至有陣時喺街上面撞到你哋，你問我乜唔係移民咗咩？即係雖然 Jamie 而家都仲係一個 BB， 但係到佢大個咗之後咧，我哋都想去英國或者可能美國呢啲地方去讀書嘅。咁就變咗好大可能我哋會全家會同佢一齊去。咁當然所有嘢都可能會有 honeymoon stage， 拍拖有 honeymoon stage， 移民都可能有一個 honeymoon stage 嘅。And everything would seem great。咁對我嚟講咧，英國我最中意嘅地方咧就係佢哋嘅 supermarket。咁可能因為我哋屋企嘅口味咧就可能係一半中一半西餐咁樣嘅，平時煮嘅話。咁而好多時候特別我哋住大埔咧，其實要買外國嘅 groceries 係有啲困難，而且係會貴嘅喺香港買。咁所以去到英國嘅時候咧，就覺得好高興啦，見到咁多即係我哋想識嘅嘢。But when it comes to the reality, things can be a lot more difficult. Our number one concern is job. 咁當然我知道我哋嘅 situation 可能比一般香港人就可能有少少優勢啦。咁原因就係因為我嘅老公咧就喺 Scotland 出世土生土長長大嘅，咁所以英文咧就係佢嘅母語嚟嘅。咁而我咧就喺美國讀過書啦，咁所以英文對我嚟講都唔係一個好大嘅困難。但係對我哋兩個嚟講，你要我哋喺英國揾份工咧，我覺得都唔係咁容易嘅。compare 翻喺香港我哋嘅 career 嘅時候咧，如果搬去 UK 嘅話，對我哋嚟講會係一個 major downgrade。咁我先生喺香港咧就係一個教師嚟嘅，咁當然佢翻返去 UK 嘅時候，佢都可以做到教師嘅。但係英國老師嘅人工，如果你 compare 係一個 international school 嘅老師人工咧，都起碼會 cut 一半咁滯。There was even a teacher strike recently about their pay, so imagine that. 咁至於我咧，因為我係一個亞洲人啦 ，so it would be odd for me to teach English in the UK。咁同埋可能佢哋嗰邊 tutors 嘅 demand 其實都唔係話咁大。What would I possibly be doing? I would probably teach math because that's a stereotype for Asians. 除咗揾工呢一方面咧 ，tax 對我哋嚟講亦都係一個好大嘅 concern。喺香港嘅 tax 咧，其實就對我哋嚟講係算係叫做好低嘅，比起美國同埋英國。
根據呢個英國嘅 website 嚟講咧，如果你做一份3萬幾港紙人工嘅工嘅時候咧，你大概係要俾23% 嘅 tax 嘅，同埋 national insurance。咁同美國咧就其實都唔係差好遠。亦都有 Medicare 嘅 tax 需要俾。
好啦，講完工作稅嗰方面嘅嘢咧，第3樣嘢對我哋嚟講都係一個好大嘅 concern 嘅就係 child care。咁我哋 BB Jamie 咧就暫時只係7個月大嘅啫。喺香港即係雖然請工人咧，我哋係覺得一個好痛苦嘅 process 嚟嘅。But how much would childcare cost in the UK and in the US? So on average, you're looking at about 2,000 Hong Kong dollars a week. But just remember, the service may not be on demand. You may only be able to get it for 8 hours a day. And my concern is, are these childcare centers really suitable for babies and toddlers? 咁其實如果你計翻條數嘅時候咧，嗰個支出咧其實比香港請一個工人咧，其實可能係差唔多嘅，即係可能請一個工人就可能貴少少啦。但係你多咗嘅嘢就係工人姐姐24小時都係喺屋企可以幫到你，同埋你自己翻到屋企唔使再做家務。
Hong Kong, US, UK, which one is the best to me? My answer may be biased, 但如果可以再移民多次，我都係會揀翻美國。始終都係我曾經喺嗰度住過，亦都喺嗰度做過嘢。
咁所以揾工嗰方面咧，應該係 OK 嘅。第二咧就係覺得對 Jamie 成長嚟講係會比較開心。
香港始終都係一個好緊張又好 competitive 嘅地方，而相比起英國咧
，There's a huge variety of food in the US, and in fact, the best Korean food that I've ever had was actually in Atlanta, not Korea. Houses are a lot cheaper than Hong Kong. The weather is great depending on where you live.
咁當然唔係話美國100% 好好啦，每個地方都有佢嘅唔好處。例如好似 Bettina 所講，美國嘅醫療實在真係好貴。
So if you can choose, which country would you choose? What's your number one choice? Let me know in the comment section down below. So I think for the next few years, we'll still be in Hong Kong. 但係如果有機會去其他國家，例如可能係馬來西亞、泰國啊呢啲咁樣，我哋都係會 open to it. Looking for someone to chat with in English? Use my code to practice with Cambly today. I hope you liked today's video. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Support my channel by purchasing a super thanks so we all can keep learning English for free on this channel. Thanks for watching today's video. Check out my other videos as well. And I'll see you in the next one.